Although the topic is complex by nature, I would like to explain this in a very simple way for you and for the sake of your convenience. And first of all, I must tell you the other name for the same topic found in every grammar book. You can see it has another name that is called direct and indirect speech. So let's find the difference between direct and indirect speech. both are a kind of both are the kinds of statements, direct, indirect. The difference between these two statements lies in the fact that one makes use of the direct words of the speaker, whereas this does not make use of the direct words of the speaker. I am writing it. You can see clearly the difference between the direct speech and the indirect speech. This has made use of the direct words of the speaker, whereas we can see this sentence having little changes provided to this, and the changes are that this was not there, this was nowhere in the direct speech. This is a surplus idea, and it is in accordance with the rule of narrating the sentences. And the another change, we can see the subject I has been changed to he, and these changes, you can see a major change over here, am has been changed to was, and these all changes are brought under the and considered under the consideration of this part of the sentence. So let's talk about the two different parts of direct speech, and let's understand when to carry forward the changes to this part, when all such changes are carried forward to this part, and sometimes in cases changes are not brought. So let's see what is the difference and what are the different circumstances under which sentences receive changes, the direct words of speaker receive some kind of changes, and in other cases they do not receive any kind of change. And it all depends upon the tense used in this part. We can see this part has the use of past tense, and before explaining this thing I forgot to explain the two parts of direct speech. I must tell it for the sake of your good understanding. It is important to know your direct speech has two parts. This part is called a reported verb part. This part is called reported speech part, whereas this part is called reporting verb part. Direct speech has two parts. First one, reporting verb part, and the second one is reported speech part. This reported speech part receives any kind of change only when this is in past tense. When reporting verb is in past tense, then only you have the permission to carry forward any kind of change to this part. And if this is not in past tense, for example, if this be found in present either or future tense, because we have only three tenses, present, past and future. If found in past tense, then the story of changes begin. And if this part is found in present tense or future tense, we need not bother ourselves of any kind of change except the minor changes. I will explain what are major changes and what are minor changes. I call minor changes like the changes related to subjects. I becomes he according to the speaker. According to the number and gender of the speaker, we make little change over here. If it were a lady, at that time we had to make use of she, but we can see he, the masculine subject, the masculine one used over here. So these changes are carried forward on the basis of our common sense, and after all it also has a rule related to that, so we will discuss about that a little later. But let's clear this concept of providing changes or when not to provide change. When this part be found in past tense, we are likely to carry forward all kinds of changes, minor or major. Subjects and objects are subject to change. Tense even is subject to change. When? But there is only one condition, and the condition is this reporting verb part should be in past tense. Any of the classifications of past tense, but it has to be in past tense, and this is the important condition for carrying forward any kind of change to the second part. Now, present, in case of present and future, we do not provide any kind of change to tense. Especially tense change is a major change, so we can carry forward changes related to subject and object in all kinds of tenses. But there is a strict condition for the changes related to tense in only it should only be done in the case of past tense, right? Next thing, once we found the reporting verb in past tense, it means now we are allowed to carry forward changes to the next part, that is a reported speech part. Suppose it has the use of simple present tense. Suppose the reporting speech has the use of simple present tense. So it has a rule. All the classifications are shifted slightly to their alternative classifications. For example, simple present tenses, if found in a reported speech part, if reported speech part has simple present sentence, so that should be, while narrating that sentence, besides using that, we make use of that, removing the comma from there, we make use of that, and after that tense is subject to some kind of change, and the change is simple present changes to simple past. For example, he goes, then it becomes he went. Next is present continuous. If the sentence is from this classification, present continuous, it should be changed to past continuous. Alternately, they are changed. Present perfect, simply change it to past perfect. Present perfect continuous, changes to past perfect continuous. As you know, The change of auxiliaries are responsible for the change of classification of sentences. Simply, if used here has been, have been, simply make use of had been and it shifts to its alternative classification, past perfect continuous. Suppose the tense used in reported speech fortunately or unfortunately be in simple past. You can see if the sentence is in simple present, we changed it to simple past. But what in case if the simple past itself has come in the reported speech part? At that time, it is our duty to know whether the sentence is a historical, referring to some kind of historical event. In that special case, we need not change the tense of the sentence. It remains as usual in the case of historical statement. For example, Taj Mahal was built by Shah Jahan. So in that case, we need not change the classification of tense. It remains usual. And in other sentences, except the exceptional one, we shift the simple past sentences into past perfect sentences. And when it is something like past continuous sentences should be changed to past perfect continuous tense. He was playing, he had been playing, and the change is complete. Past perfect sentences, past perfect and past perfect continuous remain unchanged. They receive no change. If all such sentences from past perfect tense and past perfect continuous tense having had or had been in them, they receive no changes, they remain as usual. And this is being explained to make you able to understand that what to do in the different cases. In some cases, you see simple present is used, but every time it is not necessary that simple present sentences will be used in the reported speech. Sometimes they may be present continuous, sometimes past continuous, sometimes other classifications. That's why I considered one by one all the classifications for your sake of convenience, so that you are good at understanding what to do in case of all these classifications. For example, before that we talked about present and past tenses till now. But what if you get in the reported speech part written something from future tense? It also has several classifications, 4 classifications in all. What will you do in that case? It is so simple to understand. We need not carry forward any other kind of change, but we need to make use of would instead of writing will. As you know, will is the auxiliary, will and shall. 2 are the auxiliaries meant for for future tense. So in the case of future tense, while narrating, you need not carry forward any other kind of change, but just make will, would, shall becomes should, may becomes might, can becomes could, and that's all. And in case of universal statements, you can see on times the use of universal statements like the sun rises in the east, or whatsoever sentences be, but have bearing the same nature. If the sentences bear the same nature, expressing some kind of universal truth, the sun rises in the east, who doesn't know in the world sun rises in the east, we need not carry forward any kind of change to the reported speech part while narrating it, because those are universal truths, universal facts. Even though the reporting verb is in past tense, we need not carry forward any kind of change to the next part, as we did in the case of other classification of sentences. And now something related to the tense of this was something related to the major change. We got detailed idea about the major changes, and now talking about the minor changes. You see, he said, I am sick. This was the sentence, and this is the reporting verb, and this is the reported speech. We got to know how to bring changes according to the reporting verb part. If this be in past tense, all the story begins about changing the tense of the given sentence in reported speech, and in case of future and present tense, we need not provide any kind of change, tense related change to this part. And now talking about the minor changes. For example, how to handle these all subjects. Do they receive certain changes? And the answer is yes. I is changed according to the subject. You can see I should be used in respect of its gender and number. You can see he is the speaker. He is the speaker and he is singular in number. That's why it is clear. The idea about singularity and plurality is clear, that he is a male member, gender is male, masculine, and he is one in number. So the same thing, subject of reported speech is changed according to the subject of reporting verb. We have a good formula for this to understand it in a simple way. Sun formula. If the subject is first person, I is first person, it should be changed according to the subject. I wrote the same thing. This is the subject over there. S is meant for this subject. This subject changes according to the subject used in reporting verb. And when the subject used over here is second person, suppose we get here written you. As you know, you is the second person subject. Suppose it were you, अगर यहाँ you का प्रयोग होता suppose, तो हम क्या करते? This you should have been changed according to the object, but as you can see, there is no object used. In all such cases, when there is no object, so you are free to make use of he. You can assume it to be a masculine singular member and make use of he. So in case of second person, we change this subject in respect of the object used in a reporting verb part. This is the same thing written over here. First person subjects changed according to the subject. Second person, suppose you were there. You is second person. it should be changed in respect to the object over here. And if third person nouns or subjects are used there, suppose it may be cases, in different cases, sometimes we make use of I, sometimes you is our subject, sometimes he, she, it, or any third person singular noun subjects can be used. In all such cases, we must be careful enough to understand that no changes are to be brought in all such cases, and this is the fact. So one more time I would like to repeat for you so as to understand the good formula of sun. S represents the subject over here, O represents the object over here, but unfortunately there is no object. And you can take one example on your own and try making the changes according to my advice. And this N refers to no change, means when the subject is first person, subject should be seen at. When the subject is second person, this object should be seen at. And when the subject here is third person singular number, you need not see anywhere anything. Let it be as usual, let it be as usual. And this is about the rules of minor changes. So I hope you are understanding it by and by, that these all things are going to help you a lot. And more than this, here we have not completed all the things about narration, direct and indirect speech, until we have good idea about the kinds of sentences used in reported part. Suppose he said, the sentence was, he said, I am sick. In respect of tenses, we saw. Now is the time to see the same reported speech part be seen in the respect of kinds of sentences. Kinds of sentences also have their good role to play while narrating the sentences. That's why it is important to know that there are 5 only kinds of sentences. As you all know, there are only 5 kinds of sentences: assertive, interrogative, imperative, exclamatory, and octative. These are the 5 kinds of sentences, and we need to consider them one by one. When the case is from assertive sentence, suppose it be assertive sentence, we use that. Whenever the sentence, this part, reported speech part in assertive sentence, it has the use of assertive sentence. Every time we need to make use of that, removing this comma. Next is interrogative sentence. In case of interrogative sentence, we better understand these are of 2 types: yes no questions and WH questions. While narration, it also affects the health of this sentence. If the question is yes no type, then we make use of if or whether instead of using that. That is only meant for assertive and assertive, exclamatory, and optative sentences. This has nothing to do in the case of interrogative sentence. Now, in case of WH questions, the WH question word remains over there. No use of that, no use of that at all. THAT, that should not be used in case of questions. Instead, if it is yes no question, make use of if or whether. If it is WH question, let it be as usual and don't make use of that over there. Question word and. Little changes are brought in the places of subject and auxiliary verbs. The normal structure describes question words as question words auxiliary, but in the case of narration, there comes a slight change. The subject shifts a little before and auxiliary verb shifts afterwards. And this is the very important thing to know about narrating interrogative WH questions. Next is imperative sentences. As you know, imperatives bring command. They are meant for giving command, a request, or some sort of advice. So it is thought you are advised to make use of 2 plus V1 because imperative sentences have V1 in use. Simply you need to make use of 2 before those verbs given. For example, go from here. Somebody said, he said, go from here. So go is used in the beginning. You can say, so before go, simply write to go. He asked, we change this said and asked according to the senses made by the reporting verbs. If it is a command, you can better use instead of using said, you can better use asked. He asked to go from there. So all such changes are brought according to the sense been brought by the sentences, imperative sentences. Just we need to make use of 2 in case of imperative sentences if they are affirmative by nature. But when they are negative, we just have to make use of not, to and V1. If said go, so to go, and if said don't go, so in case of that, not to go should be used. Now, taking exclamatory sentences into consideration, we can see the use of that. Removing this, we can make use of that, and before that, we should use exclaimed. Instead of writing said and all, we can make use of exclaimed. He exclaimed that in case of exclamatory sentences. Exclamatory sentences, while being narrated, they are written exclaimed that, and the rest is okay. You have the idea already how to change the tenses prevailing in those sentences. Now, exclaimed in some sentences, according to the sentence sensations and emotions caused in the sentences, we can make use of happily, exclaimed sorrowfully, exclaimed surprisingly. So it all depends upon you ki what do you think and what did you sense out of the given statement of the speaker. So now talking about the last kind of sentence, optative. Optative sentences, as we all know, that they are specially meant to show some kind of wish. It is meant for giving blessings or curses. So when we bless somebody, we say, God bless you. So it is a kind of blessing. So that forms the good example of optative sentence. And if such a sentence is found in this reported speech part, so we need to make use of that in that case too. इसमें भी वो that का प्रयोग होगा. And after writing that, for example, he said, may God bless you. So he wished that this said, this verb should be terminated and should be replaced by the appropriate and relevant words like asked in case of interrogative, advised in case of interrogative, wished in case of optative sentences. So you should better understand the use of all such words. And optative sentences, while narrating, you should write, he wished that God might bless him. May God bless you. May God bless you. It means the subject should be used in the beginning, but before that, you need to make use of that in the in the narration of optative sentence. And that is all about the concepts of narration. I hope you like it and you learn it. And if you still remain with any kind of doubt, I am there always available for you. Thank you for watching.